meneer de kanselier, ek het die eer om aan u voor te stel Bernard Louis Fanaroff, met die versoek om aan hom die graad dokter in die ingenieurswese honoris causa te verleen. Die Raad en die Senaat het op grond van die volgende oorwegings besluit om aan hom hierdie graad te verleen. Mr. Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Bernie Fanaroff's career has taken him in divergent arrays of directions. After distinguishing himself as a radio astronomer, he played a leading role in the South African Union movement in the 1970s and 1980s. In the 1990s, he joined the State President's office, after which he returned to science as a key role player in South Africa's successful bid to host the Square Kilometre Array radio telescope. Dr. Fanaroff studied theoretical physics at the University of the Witwatersrand, leading to a BSc honors degree in 1970. In 1974, he completed his doctorate at the Cavendish Laboratory in Cambridge, after which he returned to his alma mater as a lecturer in the Department of Physics. It was during this time, however, that his social conscience drew him into becoming involved in the developing trade union movement of black workers, and in 1977, he became the national organizer and acting general secretary of the Metal and Allied Workers Union. As National Secretary of the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa from 1987 to 1994, he gained a reputation as a tough negotiator, skills again drawn on recently during the final stages of the SKA site bid process. His opponents both respect his formidable intellect and bargaining ability and have praised for his fairness. Dames en heren, sedert 1994 het Dr. Fanaroff verskillende regeringsposisies beklee, adjunkt directeur-generaal van die Reconstructie en Ontwikkelingsprogram in president Nelson Mandela se kantoor. Hy was ook adviseur vir die Departement Veiligheid en Sekuriteit en hoof van die Nasionale Misdaadvoorkomingsstrategie. Nadat die Nasionale Departement Wetenskap en Tegnologie na die eeuwwisseling besluit het om actief betrokken te raak by die SKA radioteleskoop projek, toe nog in sy aanvangstadium, is Dr. Fanaroff in 2003 as hoof aangestel. Onder sy leierskap het die Suid-Afrika SKA projek gefloreer en in 2006 het Suid-Afrika en Australië die kortlys gehaal. Dr. Fanaroff's impeccable credentials as a scientist and a son of Africa provided the necessary impetus in gaining government support for the country's SKA initiative. He is a fellow of the Royal Astronomical Society, a member of the International Astronomical Union, and a founder member of the Academy of Science of South Africa. Mr. Chancellor, I request that you confer the degree Doctor of Engineering honoris causa on Dr. Bernard Louis Fanaroff for his exceptional contribution to the diverse fields of radio astronomy, to the developing trade union movement during the 1970s and 80s, and his role as a respected government official and advisor after 1994 for the benefit of the South African society, for his impeccable reputation as a scientist and his formidable skills as an organizer and negotiator that resulted in South Africa's successful SKA bid.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Director, our Chancellor, distinguished guests, and our honorary degree recipients, and those of you who have received doctorates, and all the others of you present this afternoon. It's a great pleasure for me to be proposing this toast to Dr. Bernie Fanaroff on this occasion of the award of his D.Eng. Honoris Causa. I was going to start this speech in a very formal fashion by saying, as the present incumbent of the SKA Research Chair in Stellenbosch University in the Department of Electrical and Electronic Engineering. Then I thought our Chancellor set a wonderful example of plain speaking, so let me say instead, Bernie, thank you for paying my salary. Be that as it may, it's a great privilege to propose on behalf of our department, on behalf of our Faculty of Engineering, and on behalf of Stellenbosch University, this toast. Not all of you were in the audience this morning at, as our Chancellor said, a very long, hot ceremony. I'm not going to repeat the commendation, which you can read yourselves, but what I would like to do is pull out a few key points from Dr. Fanaroff's distinguished career, which spans almost 40 years. I'd like to highlight the key roles he's played, starting out as a scientist, and you may be interested to know that extragalactic radio sources are still classified according to a scheme which he and a colleague first described in a classic paper in 1974. Secondly, his role as trade union organizer and negotiator through the really volatile 1980s. Then in nation building, where he served in President Mandela's office in the key period following the 94 elections. And now most recently for the last decade as Square Kilometre Array, South Africa's project director. And that's a role which has spanned science, politics, engineering, and required all his negotiating and project management skills. I would like to say a few personal things which you will not find reflected in the commendation. From our department's perspective, the SKA now funds something like 10% of our budget, and we're not a small department. The impact the project is having in science and engineering in South Africa cannot be underestimated. It's particularly appropriate to be toasting Bernie here at the Wannenberg Center. 2.5 weeks back, I welcomed people to the annual SKA Postgraduate Bursary Conference, which has been held here for the last 5 years. The most recent edition had something like 90 postgraduate students from around the country, all funded by the SKA project and all working in various fields of astronomy and the engineering disciplines which support that. Additionally, there was something like about a dozen leading international experts who were present as guest speakers. Bernie's always made a point of attending as much of the conference as possible. And this year he was grumbling things about thinking about retiring, so he had more time to hang around the conference. And I was particularly impressed at some of the sessions. He was sitting there asking some really tough, insightful questions to those leading international experts, making them think before they answered. And that demonstrated Bernie's continued deep insight into astronomy and its technology. When you first meet Bernie, 2 words spring to mind, and that's quiet and unassuming. Within a few minutes, if you're wise, and I think a few of the Australians who were competing with us with the SK bid did not follow this, you need to revise that impression to be quiet, unassuming, and formidable. Now, South Africa will host the lion's share of the Square Kilometre Array, one of the most important international science projects of the next decade or two, is in no small part due to Bernie and his leadership of the project. We honour him today for this great contribution to engineering, to science, both in the present and in the future, for our country. Please raise your glasses, and if you would stand and toast Dr. Bernard Louis Fanaroff, Doctor of Engineering. Dr. Fanaroff, cheers.
Thank you very much for those very kind words. I hope David didn't propose that I should get an honorary degree here because I'm paying his salary. Because then, you know, we might have to revise the situation. Maar laat ek net sê, ek is baie trots om 'n nuwe maatie te wees. Ek was nie 'n oud maatie. Maar dit is 'n groot eer en 'n plesier ook om 'n eregraad van so 'n universiteit soos Stellenbosch te kry. We were sitting last night at Jan Kapp's, and we noted on the tablecloth that Stellenbosch was rated number 2 in the country in the Times Higher Education Supplement list. And that confirmed something that we've thought anyway. The reason why there is so much partnership between the SKA office and Stellenbosch is because the engineering faculty here is an outstanding faculty. The quality of the work and the quality of the students and engineers that you produce is outstanding. And we've been very lucky in many ways. We've done extensive work with David Davidson, Howard Reeder, and others. They've contributed tremendously to the groundbreaking technology that we've used for our Meerkat telescope and which will be used for the SKA telescope. We've taken over a lot of your students, some of them here today. Willem Esterhazer, who's the leader of our Meerkat team. Francois Kapp, who's the leader of our digital engineering team. These are people who 6 or 7 years ago couldn't spell astronomy, but are now recognized internationally as literally among the leading engineers in their field in the world. And this is in a community, the SKA community, which includes some of the best universities and institutions in the world. And there's no question about us just being able to hold our own. We are able to play a leading role, and we are recognized, our team is recognized as one of the most capable, most innovative, and most committed teams in the SKA community in the world. And as a result, people like Willem and Francois play a leading role in their fields, and it's very well deserved. David mentioned our bursary conference that we had here a couple of weeks ago. I think it's also notable that we give prizes for the best presentations by PhD students and MSc students and so on. And a disproportionate percentage of those prizes year after year goes to students from Stellenbosch. So I don't know what it is that you guys do, but I must say to Russell that something is working here, because the students, the engineers that you're producing, the scientists, really are outstanding, and it's a pleasure to be associated with Stellenbosch, and in particular with the engineering department. It's very important. It's very important to me to have this honorary doctorate, because the people in the team always say to me that I shouldn't interfere in their decision making, because I don't actually know anything about technology or engineering. So now I can wave a piece of paper and say, now I know, you can't tell me that anymore. The Chancellor has raised a very important point though. Our tertiary education, in my view, is producing spectacularly good people. When I look at the students that we have coming up through our bursary program, which is a very large program, and which has been funded by the Department of Science and Technology with a lot of foresight. They put a lot of money into it, and it's working extremely well. But when I look at those students, there is no doubt whatsoever that our students are producing work that is as good as any other university in the world. And the international visitors that David spoke about, who come from places like Oxford and Cambridge and Caltech and Berkeley and so on, say that year after year. They say they're tremendously impressed with the work that's being done. So our tertiary education, in my view, is strong. There are obviously areas where it has to be strengthened. The schools are a problem. What we're trying to do in Carnarvon in the Karoo is to build up a hub for maths and science education. We brought in maths and science teachers to the high school in Carnarvon. We're working with the education department of the Northern Cape now to upgrade the hostel, and we're going to be bringing in students from the scholars from the surrounding towns like Williston and Bruntvlei, Van Wyksvlei and so on, to Carnarvon, because we can't get teachers to do maths and science in the other towns. And truth to be told, some of the headmasters don't want to do maths and science because their pass rates will go down. So we're going to bring the kids into Carnarvon and build up a hub there. And it is absolutely crucial that we should be able to at least build a model that works. We also have a very fast optical fiber cable going in there for the purposes of the telescope. And we've linked that to a cyber lab at the school, which the kids are using. We're also building a cyber lab in the library in the town, so it'll be available to townspeople, because there's no doubt that if you put it there, people will use it. And if you have capacity, people will find ways to use it. So we're making it available. We're going to have somebody who will be available to help people use it. And we want to wait and see what happens, what kind of economic development takes place around that. So I think that we have a lot of things that we can test out because we're in the lucky position of having very good people working as part of our team and in the universities. We've got the infrastructure. Hopefully that sort of focused project can be rolled out more widely. The SK is a challenge for all of us. We've won the major part of it. The difficult part starts now. There's a lot of negotiations still to be done. Everybody's saying somebody else should pay. You know, some countries which I would have thought are very rich countries are saying, but they're just small, they can't pay much. And some countries which are very large, with a very large GDP, are saying they're just poor developing countries, they can't pay much. So we've got a lot of negotiation to do. There are tremendous engineering and science challenges in designing and building the SKA. I hope that we will be able to play a leading role. We've worked with industry here in Stellenbosch, for instance, EMSS and other companies in your Technopark. They've established a world-leading role. I think they'll be well placed to make major contributions to the SKA. I hope that South Africa will be able to play a leading role in the design, the engineering and the construction of the telescope. And I just think it's an amazing and wonderful opportunity for us to have the world's largest scientific instrument in Africa. With 8 African partners, we're going to have the world's largest scientific instrument. I will definitely have retired before that happens, but for our young people, it's going to be an absolutely wonderful opportunity. And it'll bring our young people back wherever they've gone in the world, and it'll hold the young people here, and it's already bringing young people into maths and science. So I'm looking forward to seeing the wonderful skills and expertise that we develop, particularly around this area of the Cape, leading to our ability to play a leading role in the new industries. The new industries that the world is going to see, which are going to dominate the global economy, based on big data, based on fast data transport, based on digital electronics. We can play a leading role. We should play a leading role. And I think Stellenbosch can contribute to that. Thank you very much.